Khalid began working tirelessly, his mind consumed by only one thought: saving enough money to buy his book. Day after day passed. He knew his work was grueling, but he also knew it was the most profitable job in Zikola. He motivated himself by competing with Yaman each day in breaking rocks, and he would laugh whenever a girl or two glanced at his glistening muscular body under the sun. He would then continue working, leaving Yaman to flirt with those girls, until he finished his shift and went to the restaurant for lunch. He smiled as he saw most of the workers eating chicken while he alone ate bread. Afterward, he returned to the lake, threw himself into its waters, then lay on its shore. He would take out his papers and pens to record the units he had earned, how many he still needed to afford the book, and how many days remained. Asil would come sit beside him for a while before returning home, while he stayed up late until sleep finally overtook him, and he slept until the next morning. One day, when he finished his work, he saw a girl approaching from afar. His heart pounded loudly when he realized she looked just like Mona, the girl he had loved for many years before coming to Zikola. But when she passed by, he noticed she looked slightly different. The girl herself seemed surprised by his stunned gaze, and even Yaman was astonished. He teased Khalid. "Do you like her? If you want to marry her, just tell me." Khalid laughed. "No thanks." That evening, he didn't go to the restaurant as usual. Instead, he went straight to the lake, his mind preoccupied with that girl who resembled Mona, as though the sight of her had brought back memories from years past. He murmured to himself, "Mona, I wonder, did you ever marry that doctor or not?" He sat by the lake, lit a small fire, and took out a sheet of paper. The upper half was already filled with writing, so he began to write on the lower half. "Only a few days remain before I complete 2 months and finally get my book. But today I met a girl who looks like Mona, the one I loved for 6 years and dreamed of marrying, if not for her insane father." He paused for a moment, lost in thought, then continued. "I don't know why I met that girl today. Was it meant to remind me of Mona, even though I haven't thought about her since coming to Zikola? So busy searching for my book? I don't know." He stopped again, gazing across the lake, took a deep breath, then slowly exhaled. He looked back at the paper, now almost completely filled except for a small space at the bottom, and wrote, "What I do know for sure is that I have never loved anyone but Mona." When that page was full, he took another one, glanced at the previous sheet, and continued writing. "I never loved anyone but her before coming to Zikola, until I met Asil, whose feelings for me seemed to grow stronger every day. As for me, I feel—" Just then, he heard footsteps behind him. He turned to find Asil approaching. He smiled and quickly hid his papers among his belongings. "What are you doing?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "Nothing." She was quiet for a moment, then said, "I thought I'd find you eating at the restaurant. I went there, but didn't see you. Looks like you're saving your meals." He laughed. "No, I'm not that stingy. I just preferred to come to the lake." Asil smiled. "You know, being stingy isn't a flaw here in Zikola. People have actually started saving up their wealth since they sense that the day of Zikola is near, if the ruler-es's child turns out to be a boy. It might be in 3 months or a little more, who knows?" Then she added with a playful smile, "If it weren't for the units people saved from those who take protection units, they wouldn't be eating chicken until that day comes." She laughed and went on, "I bet even the poor this year will have more than 200 units. Khalid laughed too. "Well, I want to leave Zikola before I see the poor being slaughtered." Then he asked her, "And you? Don't you want to leave Zikola?" She replied softly, "Leaving Zikola would be the hardest decision of my life. I don't think I could do it unless I had a very strong reason." Then she stood up. "Come on, you should get some sleep. I'm heading home. I've got plenty of work early tomorrow." Khalid smiled, imitating her tone. "A very strong reason, huh?" Asil laughed. "Very strong indeed."
Asil left, night passed, and morning followed. Khalid kept working, hoping each day would pass. He saved as many units as he could, never letting a single day go by without working. He spent nothing from his wages, except 1 unit when he ate bread. Some days he even managed to save that. There were times 2 days would pass without a bite touching his lips. Then the final day of the 2 months arrived while he was at work with Yaman, who smiled and told him, Its deadline ends today. Khalid thanked God and said, "Finally, I've been waiting for this day with bated breath." Yaman asked, "How many of the 400 units did you manage to gather?" Khalid fell silent, thinking, as if carefully counting. "I think I've gathered around 350 units, and I'll add 50 from my reserves." Yaman cut him off. "You mean 100 units?" Khalid replied, astonished. 100? Yaman continued. "Yes. Didn't you remember you'll need to hire the horse again?" Khalid smacked his forehead as if he had forgotten the horse existed, then fell quiet and added, "I was going to buy a horse. It would have been cheaper for me." Then he went on, 50% won't change much. What matters is that I get the book." Yaman laughed. "All right. I'll lend you the horse again and wait for you when you return. I want the most expensive book in Zikola. I think this will be a historic moment for me." Khalid laughed back. "And I hope it will be historic for me too." The next morning, Khalid mounted the strong horse he'd rented the last time he went to the northern area. He set off toward that region, a hopeful smile on his face he had never felt before. He urged the horse on. "Come on, toward hope, toward my leaving Zikola." The horse tore along the road, his shirt fluttering in the wind to reveal his strong muscles and the muscular arm gripping the reins. He rode on, fearing he might be late, fearing Hilal the madman would tear another page from the book and order him to ride faster. Time passed, the sun moved, and he continued without resting. He reached the outskirts of the northern district at sunset, then hurried through its empty streets, save for a few people who began to appear with the coming night and a handful of streetwalkers who perfunctorily wandered the lanes. He continued to Hilal's house, his brother, the book's owner. Khalid arrived at his brother's house, dismounted quickly, and tied his horse by the door. He gave a boy sitting in front of the house 2 units to guard the horse until he returned, then knocked. Hilal opened the door and greeted him with a laugh. "The madman who wants the book." Khalid said nothing and followed him inside, where 2 men who looked powerful, and whose eyes showed malice, were sitting. Hilal spoke. "You arrived right on time." Khalid replied, "I want the book now." Hilal smiled a sly smile. "Of course, my dear. You fell from the sky to me. I feared I might be slaughtered on Zikola Day. After that book, I won't work for at least a year. Today I honor my father greatly." He then looked at Khalid. "It seems you were ready right now to give me 500 units for the book." Khalid cried out in anger. 500! Hilal laughed as if surprised. "Yes. Have you forgotten our agreement?" Khalid shouted again. "Our agreement was 400 units. Hilal fell silent for a moment, then turned to one of the men and said, "He says 400. Then he looked at the other man. "I don't recall that." He looked back at Khalid. "Maybe you didn't understand me then. Perhaps I meant 400 units if you had taken it 2 months ago. After that time, the price must rise. I don't know what else with this foolishness in Zikola." Khalid flew into a rage and nearly struck him, but he restrained himself when he saw the evil those 2 men hid. He spoke calmly. "I just told you you are my brother." Hilal laughed and looked at the men. "I told you how, and he's mad." Then, turning to Khalid, "I suppose you have plenty of money. You won't become poor if you give me the extra 100 units." He went into one of the rooms and returned with the book in hand. He said to the men, "Time is passing, and our friend is still thinking. Fine, I'll tear another page from the book." He was about to tear it when Khalid grabbed his hand and looked him squarely in the eye. "I agree to buy the book for 500 units. Hilal laughed. "Fine, and I give you the book." Khalid snatched it in fury and hugged it to his chest, speaking as if addressing the book itself. "The important thing is that the book is with me, and the units I lost I can make up before Zikola Day, God willing. There are still 3 months until Zikola Day. If the newborn is male, and if I work as I have been, I can save around 500 units and replace my reserves and more. Then he looked at Hilal, who had begun drinking with the two men, and said, "I hope you are not truly my brother," and added, "because you are a disgrace." Hilal laughed coldly. "Now go, you madman. Get out before we take the book from you again." Khalid replied, "If that happens, kill me first." He took his book and left, slamming the door behind him. He mounted his horse and rode off, forgetting the extra units he had paid. His whole concern was to read what was inside the book. He reached a sparsely populated part of the district, sat beside a lamp post lit by a small fire, took the book out in haste, and began leafing through its pages impatiently. He read its lines with his eyes, turning over the yellowed pages written in a handwriting that seemed like hope he had waited for years to find.